So bright. Every time it does it, it's just so bright. Man, I look sunburnt. Hello, my lovely little titans. I hope everybody had a great week. Yep, I did. Hi, Ira. Goodness. Hi, Alicia. Hi, Space. Oh, thank you. It's one of my favorites. I think I got it at Cracker Barrel, like, I don't know, forever ago. I've had it for a very long time. I'm good. How are you doing, Space? How are you doing, Alicia? Good, good. Yeah, it's insane. You can. She's like right there through the wall. And she's like on the other side of it. Like, so on that side is the TV, and then she's like across the room from that. So it's impressive. You can hear her. Oh, nice, Space. That's awesome. You're not gonna wait until Valentine's Day to give it to him, Space? To figure out what RGX means. Click. What do you do? Nothing. Oh, you do nothing. I have no idea what RGX does. Oh, you're too excited? Yeah, I can understand that. I have not seen that, Alicia, no. Yeah, I know that Space. The Power Ranger helmet has a new home at the top of textbook case next to me. His shrine to all things Power Rangers. Oh, that's awesome, Space. Surprised you don't see Shar in here yet. She might be busy though. And I'm sure we'll see Angelica soon. This week I've been working. Yeah, just mainly working, trying to write, but failing at it epically. But yeah, mainly just writing. I did manage to get, as I told Wolf earlier, 1.5 videos filmed today, so that's good. And I'm introducing a new character, so there's that too. I'm interested to hear what you guys have all been up to this week. Even if you guess the character, I'm not going to tell you if you're right or wrong. I want it to stay a surprise. Again, even if you guess, I'm not going to say yes or no. Working. That's all. That's all I do majority of my week. Working and raising my kid. You can guess if you want to. I just said I'm just not going to confirm no matter who. No comment is all I can say. Oh, space. You're not going to end up on like the 6 o'clock news or something, are you, Space? It's not that kind of thing. That emoji doesn't help. Girl. Damn. I don't know if I am, Alicia. I don't know. I'm trying to just keep motivated to just do any videos at this point. Space is pleading the fifth. This is the only dirty joke I'm going to make, and probably the 69th. Okay, I'm done. Oh, that's all right, Alicia. I'm sure you'll find somebody. Well, that's all I watch is crime shows. Well, I try to watch other things. I just go to crime shows when I just want something in the background. That sounds so terrible. I watch things about murders just for like background noise. you just have to be 18 to go into those special stores. No, there's no point. You get caught. No, I just had those 8. I still need to do stuff with those too. God, I got a lot on that I need to film. Yeah, people think we're crazy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I find it very educational, to be honest. Educational in the way that you learn. You actually do learn some history about it, and you learn about how crazy people are. It's educational in a psychological aspect. Space getting it off. No, we don't talk about Bruno. Murder, She Wrote is good. Murder, She Wrote's probably better. But also think about it. Like, I think there's a theory about Murder, She Wrote that Angela Lansbury's character, Jessica, was actually a prolific serial killer. And that's why she wrote those books, and how she ended up in so many situations where a murder happened was because she did it and she orchestrated it so well that other people thought somebody else did it. I'm like, that's a really good theory, because if you think about it, for how long that show went on, why did so many people end up dead when Jessica was around? Well, these people have ended up dead without Jessica being around. Who knows? We never will, because Jessica was there the whole time. So maybe she murdered them and then wrote about it in her successful books. And wouldn't that be a thing to come out and say, yeah, that was true? Mrs. Potts is a killer. Well, technically, Mrs. Potts did kill in the Beauty and the Beast, because she poured boiling water on somebody. So you don't really walk away from that. Not usually, not with how hot it would like it was, that they didn't even show it happen. But you heard this pain just scream, and you saw the look on her face, like, yeah, I did that. Like, oh my God. Yeah, Mrs. Potts was a serial killer in every respect. Well, maybe not serial. In that movie, she did kill, and then Jessica was probably a serial killer. Yeah. My boyfriend hung up on me. I'm sorry to hear that. They killed more than you think. Well, if you need to get off the live stream space, that's fine. The wardrobe killed everybody. Lumiere set somebody on fire, I'm sure. Cogsworth was gonna stab. Well, he did stab somebody with a pair of scissors. Like, they were a bloodthirsty group. And then there's a theory that Beast killed a bunch of servants as the Beast, because you go into his room and you see all this smashed up furniture, and since like almost everything in that castle was enchanted, odds are they were people at some point. So fun. More than likely. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. A little bit. I had a nap today too, so shows you either how incredibly sleep deprived I am, or just how incredibly tired. Yes, I have seen How to Train Your Dragon 3. It was very good. I've also seen the little Christmas short that came after it. It's great. Where the what did they call them? The Nightlight Furies? I don't know. The little adorable spotted children of Toothless doing the Christmas thing. I thought that was great. It was really good, and I thought it ended really sweet. Bitter, a little bittersweet. It's too bad in the time skip we didn't see Hiccup get, like, a little bigger. Like, I mean, people don't stop growing, especially men, until they're, like, 25, and I think he was a little, like, either at that or older, so he should have been a little bit more filled out. I don't know, it would've been cool to see him kinda look like Stoic in a way, like, be a really cool blend of his mom and Stoic. That would've been really nice. Plus, I know the joke is like he's a hiccup of a Viking, but come on, you could at least let him grow a little bit. They let Aaron grow up a lot, so he's just like Ed. At least Ed grew. Uh, I thought they were called nightlights. I'm like, there's no way they're actually called nightlights, but then I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, they probably are nightlights. Barely. No, he grew enough. He got taller than Winry, and that's all that mattered to him. Pretty sure that's all that mattered to him was getting to be taller than Winry. Because I think Al ended up taller than, um, yeah, I think Al ended up taller than Ed. I'm sure he would. Well, he has a mechanical leg, so maybe he had Winry install like a lift on it. I wouldn't be surprised. It is Ed. I love that. I love that ending so much, where you see the picture of all of them together, and you see Winry with the little girl, and then you see Ed with their son, and they just both have that big smile. It's just wonderful. And why do you think that, Alicia? I can see that. Yeah. You're good, Cryptid. We're just chilling. Fair enough. Either we're about to age ourselves further, Wolf, or we're about to open a fandom can of worms with mentioning Merlin. Oh, I'm sure you did, Wolf. That's fair, Lucy. He might be gay. Who knows? Well, the writers do. So, what about Merlin specifically, Wolf? Oh, that's great. Oh, that's wonderful. I think it's just like, at least in that fandom, a semi-universal truth. Kind of like how Dean and Cass are together. I think it's a universal truth, Wolf. At least for that fandom. Because I don't see much come out about Guinevere and Arthur, at least from the fandom. In the myths, yes, but in that fandom, no. Ah, I see. I see. I didn't watch much of Merlin, but what little I did, that's all I could focus on. I'm like, pretty sure there's something going more between Merlin and Arthur than Arthur and Gwen. Like, Guinevere was really sweet, but she just wasn't in chemistry between her and Arthur. And I get that, even in myth, there probably wasn't a whole lot going on between Arthur and Guinevere, but come on. She's supposed to be like the woman this man like puts everything on the line for, and you can't even find two actors that have good chemistry together. And then the weirder part was, and I think this was to circumvent problems later, I think they made Lancelot her brother. They either made Lancelot her brother or Gawain her brother. I can't remember. One of the two knights of the Round Table was Gwen's brother. But I'm just like, if it was Lancelot, I think I remember thinking, like, that's just weird, because I think Lancelot's the one she had the affair on Arthur with. Who's your favorite person? Favorite? Probably Toothless. You died twice. Okay, you died twice. It's bad enough you die once, now you die twice. And if you're the supernatural fandom, you die all the time. Honestly, like, in Supernatural, death became such a common thing for characters. It didn't even have the same shock factor anymore. Like, you didn't sit there going, "Oh, they're never coming back. I'm never gonna see your character again." You're just like, "And I'll wait, 5 episodes at most for something for them to come back? Sure." And then Attack on Titan, I'm like, they all stayed dead, but that one, I think sometimes is a little more shock value-y than it needs to be. It's another show where death is just Game of Thrones. At that point, I just was like, come on. Everybody dies in Game of Thrones. If they haven't died yet, then they will die at some point. And then the ones that were left, you're just like, oh, the therapy you probably need after all this is insane. Okay, okay. Yeah, I thought it was a night, because he kept talking about joining Arthur, and then I swear to God, Lancelot was in it, and I thought they had made Lancelot her brother. I think I got things confused because it was such a long time ago, and I watched a marathon of it on BBC America. So it was like back to back to back, and I was like in the middle of the third season, second or third season. Morgana hadn't even Morgan Le Fay, Morgana, whatever you want to call her. Morgan Le Fay hadn't even started her BS yet. She was still the king's sweet niece or some shit like that, whatever she was supposed to be. And Gwen was still her handmaid, and Arthur was still being a pompous prat, and Merlin was still being just sassy the whole time. So I think I was in the second season. Yeah, I think it was the second season because I think the newest season was coming out that week or whatever. That was a long time ago. It isn't though. Fair. But I mean, I think Arthur was just more trouble than others, so I see the point. Who is Merlin's teacher? Because that would be a better match for Hanji. Merlin's teacher, not the dragon, the older gentleman who was taking care of him, Godric or something like his name was. I don't think they woke him up that early though. If you think about it, I think they let him sleep in, but it wasn't enough for Arthur. Gaius, that was it. Gaius. I knew it was a G. But yeah, I think Hanji and Gaius would be better suited. I think that'd be a hilarious duo. Because Hanji would just want to mix things and see what they did, and Gaius is like, no, no, you can't do that. It might cause a bomb or an explosion. And Hanji's just like, all the better. Let's find out. And strangely, I think Leroy and Merlin would get along the best because they both have to deal with arrogant, bullheaded, stubborn prats on a daily basis. So they probably commiserate on that while Arthur and Aaron bonded. I think that'd be hilarious. It's too bad we can never see that because, well, Merlin ended, so you can't get that crossover. But that would be hilarious. And somebody actually brought up a freaking blast from the past. I can't remember. I think it's like T cosplay or something like that. They did the Attack on Titan Black Butler crossover skit, and that was great. Somebody brought it up in a server I'm part of, and I was just like, "Oh my god, that was so long ago." I'm not doing it myself now. I need more people involved. I could do Hanji, Levi, and Aaron fine. I'm not doing Merlin, Arthur, and Gaius. No, thank you. I can't remember. I have them. I'm sub to them. What was their name? They haven't posted in a long while. I think I stopped. Yeah, I stopped being sub to them because they didn't post anymore. You have too many stories as is. That's awesome, Cryptid. Good job. My favorite Disney movie as a kid, I think the answer to that one is all of them. There were very few I didn't watch. Yeah, I watched all of them. Like even some of the obscure ones that came out, like shit, like Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars and Brave Little Toaster and the sequel, all of them. I watched the Brave Little Toaster series. I love that series. Even to this day, I'll still sit and watch it. That junkyard scene was the freaking um, nightmare fuel. That was absolute nightmare fuel. Tarzan and Brother Bear are awesome. Yes, I've heard of Song of the South. Actually, a lot of people have, and it's not just because of all the controversy; it's because of the song "Zippity Doo Dah." Um, that song is very popular. Hmm. Yep. So way back then, way back in the 90s and early 2000s, I think Disney did this thing where they had sing along videos where you could buy videos of just little of the clips of certain songs, like Be Our Guest and stuff, and they would compile them onto a tape and you could watch them. Very good. I still have fond memories of it. And one of the songs on it was Zippity Doo Dah from Song of the South. Most people don't know. Well, most of us haven't seen it because it's like buried in the Disney vault, but the song still exists. And the characters from Song of the South also still exist in Brer Rabbit, Brer Bear, Brer Fox, all of them. They still exist. You find very limited merchandise of them. It's actually very coveted merchandise of the Brer animals, but they're all from Song of the South too. And that movie, Song of the South, did have both live action and animation parts to it, which is actually pretty interesting because it came out in the 1950s. Yeah, 1950s, when Disney hadn't really done that yet. Mary Poppins was one of them, but, I think Song of the South was, like, their first or second attempt, and Mary Poppins just, took off for obvious reasons. And again, you can't find a copy of Song of the South to be sold anywhere. It is I don't even think it exists on YouTube. I don't even think it exists on YouTube. I think you have to go out and find a tape or a pirated DVD of it. Wizard of Oz, I don't remember if Wizard of Oz had a bunch of animated parts with the live action. Just mainly I hate Wizard of Oz, to be perfectly honest with you. I find that movie so freaking boring. I don't know why people love it so much. I don't know, it must have something to do with you were born in that time or it came out when you were young and you have great memories of it, because I watch it now and I'm just like, "Oh my god, I cannot get through this." It's not even entertaining. It doesn't even get entertaining at any point. And then you end up feeling bad for the actress who played the, Wicked Witch of the West, because not only did the paint that she wore, that green paint, give her horrific cancer, it made her ill and gave her horrific skin cancer, but when they set her on when she did the smoke effect to, disappear, she was actually set on fire, and she suffered 2nd and 3rd degree burns because of it. Because, her dress was flammable and the paint on her face was flammable. So she suffered horrific burns. She didn't even appear for filming for several weeks until they needed her for the end. That's why you don't see a whole lot of the Wicked Witch of the West. I didn't know that either until I was watching some random movie facts. I think Watch Mojo had a bunch of them. And God, I saw it. I'm like, that's horrible. That poor woman. She went through such hell. And she went through such hell for like, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes of screen time. Maybe. That's being generous. Maybe happy ending. Very cool. Well, Once Upon a Time is Disney. I mean, I've seen some of Once Upon a Time. I was just sitting there going, "Oh my god, none of this makes any sense to me." Once they got past um the main plot of it being Snow White and Prince Charming's daughter and all that, once it started getting into other characters, like Rumpelstiltskin was the beast. I think that's where they lost me. I was just like, "Excuse me, what?" That you are cryptid. But God, no, it started to fall apart for me when when they tried to introduce characters from Grimm's fairy tales and stuff to the established Disney characters. It's like, no, 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 no. You want this to work, you bring in your own characters. You want this to be convoluted, was, which it was, you do what you did and you bring in all these other people. You introduce different timelines and events, and it honestly felt like you were watching Lost, a Disney version of Lost at some points. And it's only a cliffhanger if you don't have another chapter. The book itself doesn't end on a cliffhanger. But yeah, I really did try to watch Once Upon a Time, but it lost me after a point. I was just like, what are they doing? And then they shoehorned in Elsa and the Frozen group. And I'm just like, for the love of God, I know it's your most profitable market right now, but Jesus, just no. You have too many characters as is. That was another problem they had. They had too many characters. I get it being cool and introducing a bunch of them so people could have that, oh, it's my favorite character on screen. No, 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 no. Limit the number of characters because it just gets confusing. Like it just again, Once Upon a Time was a very ambitious thing. It was very ambitious. The problem was the writers got ahead of themselves. They outpaced everything, and then they had to try to find ways of tying it all together. And it's like, no. Because then they did the whole curse thing, and it didn't make sense. They break the curse would come back. They break the curse would come back. And they'd all be different. And they all have different memories and all sorts of other things. It's like, huh, no, 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 no. Too much, too much. Fair Wolf. I've read some Brothers Grimm's tale. The lives up to the name. Like they're very, very demented. And I read a bunch of Hans Christian Andersen's. It's really good. One of his, obviously, Little Mermaid. That's one of his better known ones. We know the Snow Queen because of Frozen, which I say is very loosely based on. Say very loosely based on on the Snow Queen. One that I didn't realize was Hans Christian Andersen until later was the Little Match Girl. That one's devastating. And Disney did a short on that one. Yeah, great. But yeah, I've read a lot of Hans Christian Andersen. That one, yeah. And that one's like they end well, they don't end the way you think they do. Brothers Grimm, they're just demented. They're just demented, and you're like, "What is the point of this?" I missed that though in school. One of the schools I went to in Texas, they did like a week of the same stories, but in like different cultures. They did like folklore and like common stories, but in different cultures. Like they had an Indian version of Cinderella. They had a Native American version of Cinderella, and that one was really good. They had a bunch, and I loved that. I loved getting to read because it was just so relaxing to sit and read a different, like the same story, but from a different culture's perspective. Because then you got to learn more and you got to see how it was different. It was really great. I miss that. I miss that so much. I wish we could have more of those like multicultural days. Um, Peter Pan. He was supposed to be a good guy, not bad, and Hook is bad, not good. And what they did to Peter, Rumpelstiltskin's father, was like, what? I know. They did so many weird things, Alicia, in that store, in that whole show. I'm just like, were you right? At one point, this started out great. Did you end up writing fan fiction in the middle of all this? Did you end up like going to AO3 or fanfic.net and just looked up what you thought, like what people think should have happened, and that's where you got your story ideas from? Because a lot of it felt like fan fiction. Because I think it turned out that Rumpelstiltskin was the evil queen's dad, something like that. I'm like, this is a very strange family line. Here they're dark, and I love dark things. Here they're meant. Yeah, they're a little demented, like in the Cinderella example, the stepsisters cut off parts of their feet to fit in the glass slipper. And then the birds that are friends with Cinderella attack them, so the prince will notice and see, oh, hey, there's a bunch of blood in that shoe. And then at the wedding, the birds peck their eyes out. Like, Jesus Christ, we didn't, like, I know you wanted them to get their karma, but no. What was another one that I won't get too dark in? Oh, the Snow White was a little different. What was it? Oh, instead of the prince kissing her and waking her up, instead of the one true kiss, the love's first true kiss, whatever the hell it's called, she actually had a piece of the apple in her mouth. Like she didn't swallow it because the poison was like an instantaneous thing, but she had the apple piece in her mouth. And when the prince went to pick her up, keep in mind she's like essentially a really pretty corpse, and he's picking her up. It knocks the apple out of her mouth and she wakes up. Wonder what the prince was going to do with her if she hadn't woken up. Yeah. The Giver is a great book. I loved that one. I loved The Giver. It was so fascinating. And I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, life could actually turn out like this at some point. But it was so good. I love that book. There are a bunch of sequels to it. I never read the sequels to it. But yeah, there's a bunch of sequels that focus around the kid who was the recipient of The Giver, and then the kid he stole. That kid stole to save him from meeting that terrible fate. Sleeping Beauty's yeah, that's the one I was avoiding because that's the only other one I know offhand about how bad it is. I was avoiding Sleeping Beauty. Yeah, Alicia. Yeah, like I said, I'm like, did they just read something and decide that that's how they were going to do it? Because none of this makes any sense anymore. Yeah, well, okay, honestly, Little Mermaid, from the perspective is a lot tamer than Grimm. Grimm had a lot of darker themes, which fit with their name, but Little Mermaid's more of a. It was more at the end supposed to be more biblical in a way. It was supposed to be more of a biblical thing of even these creatures can get a soul, even you can save yourself, stuff like that. It was a lot more. It had a lot more religious overtones than the movie we ended up with. Um, and actually, the original ending didn't even have her becoming a daughter of air. It just had her becoming sea foam because she couldn't make that sacrifice to kill the prince because she loved him. I thought that was. I'm like, I kind of see why they changed it because they're like, well, fairy tales are supposed to teach you something. That's what they wanted for kids, so they had him change the ending. Um, but I don't know. There's something poetic about her just returning to the sea and being part of it. It's all right, Wolf. But yes, I would say comparatively, Little Mermaid was very tame. She didn't have any horrific themes other than just I mean, it was really kind of messed up that whenever she would walk on the feet, she traded her voice or tongue for essentially. It would feel like glass, but she would still dance because it pleased the prince, and that was messed up. But um, again, as far as Grimm, very tame. Modern day fairy tales aren't as bad as Hans Christian Andersen and Grimm, but between the two, Grimm was way, way worse. Rapunzel was bad too. I think they're grim. I think Rapunzel's grim too. That one's bad. Because depending on the version you read, um, Rapunzel either finds the prince or she doesn't. After he's thrown out of the tower by Gothel, after she so Gothel essentially kicks Rapunzel out of the tower. She cuts off her long braid, and then throws Rapunzel out. Rapunzel is also pregnant with twins at this point, and by the prince. And then Gothel uses her hair to lure the prince back. And when he comes to get Rapunzel, he climbs up and finds Gothel instead. And then Gothel throws him off the tower, and he lands in a bunch of thorns that grew on the outside of the tower. And he ends up becoming blind. And there are some versions where she finds him wandering the woods, and she finds him and cries, and her tears magic his eyes back to where he can see. So that's where the idea of the tear in the Tangled movie comes from. Is from that version. There's other versions where he wanders forever looking for her. She sees him, but she doesn't think it's the prince, so she just moves on. But there's different versions of that one too. None of them are very kind. None of them are super kind until that you get to the end, and then maybe there's some kind of happy resolution. Well, yeah, it is messed up. A lot of these have messed up. Athena's body. So there's actually an interesting idea that the Mermaid Lagoon from Peter Pan and the sea that Triton rules are the same, or at least connected, and that Ariel's mother was killed in Mermaid Lagoon, and you see her in Mermaid Lagoon. I think that's what it is, and that she was killed by Captain Hook's ship. That's what it was. But I mean, they're not. But also, Alicia, they're not going to show a body in a kids' movie, especially not a sequel. Like, they barely got away with showing Clayton hanging in a tree by showing his silhouette. They barely got away with that. I don't think they're going to show Athena's crushed body. Also, in a technicality, Ariel and Hercules are cousins. They're cousins because King Triton is the son of Neptune, which is Poseidon. In Greek mythology, Poseidon did have a son named Triton. So Triton is Ariel's father, and Poseidon is the brother of Zeus. Therefore, and Hercules is the son of Zeus. So therefore, Ariel and Hercules are cousins. Greek mythology, people. Everybody's related. Don't travel down that road. Everybody's related thanks to Zeus. So are Rapunzel also. I wish they'd gone more into that one. That would have been cooler to see, to have Rapunzel interact with Elsa and Anna. I feel like she needed family, and I feel like she needed people her own age. And if you think about it, very similar situations. They probably all needed each other, but they didn't want to go that route. They should have, though. They really should have. I like the I know she's at the coronation, but I mean there should have been more like talking and stuff because they were so is it true that Tarzan and Elsa no. That one actually got debunked in the second movie of Frozen series, this Frozen 2, because Anna and Elsa confirmed that their parents did die on the ship because water has memory conveniently. So you saw their death, so they did die. And I think that's a cool theory in a way. I didn't think it was like found like a solid. But whatever. But yeah, no, they debunked that because they had them confirm they died because of the water has memory thing and the whole snow vision, whatever. Yeah, I know Rapunzel wasn't frozen. What I mean by interacting is like talking to each other, having a kind of a relationship. That would have been better, I think. Yep, that's one version I've heard too, Era. So I think Era, with the timelines, it doesn't match up. Because I think just based on the technology you see in Tarzan compared to the technology you see in Frozen, yes, they may be behind, but at the same time, it's like Arundel's supposed to be this big, massive. Well, it's supposed to be a country that's recognized as a player amongst other nations, and they all rely on these old sailboats and stuff. When in Tarzan, you see coal. It's basically the Industrial Revolution. And they still rely on playing music on instruments. They don't have records or anything. Photographs are a thing, kind of, but we don't see that till the second movie. We didn't see that at all in the first, so probably not technologically based. Probably not. Yeah, right. Percy Jackson. You have to ignore the fact that everyone there is related to each other in some way or another. Some closer than others. For example, between Percy and Annabeth, Percy being the child of Poseidon makes him first cousin to any of Zeus's children. Athena is Zeus's child. So de facto, that is his first cousin, and Annabeth is her child, so that is his first cousin once removed. So Percy's technically dating his first cousin. Or a type of first cousin. So you really gotta not think about it too much. That's perfectly fine, demon child. That's perfectly fine. Glad to have you though. And also, yeah, he was British. His parents, if I remember in the book correctly, his parents were some types of aristocrats. That's not why he acts posh or anything, but in the book, but he was aristocratic and they were on a voyage to England at the time and then crashed the ship sank on its way and he ended up in Africa. So, if I remember correctly, yeah. They were like coming from a colony in Africa back to England or something like that. Mhm. That's another one, Alicia. Of course, Demon Child. Yeah, again, just don't think too hard. Oh, nice. That's very cool. That's very, very cool, Ira. Interestingly enough, did you know that Hades never had any children? Like in any myth, Hades did not have any children. The Persephone and some of the myths did. We're not getting into those myths though. But Hades himself did not because he was in the realm of the dead for so long he couldn't create life anymore. I thought that was very interesting. I'm like, wow, the one man who treats his wife right and he doesn't get any kids out of it, just so we can see what kind of father he'd be. Damn. Yeah, I'm not talking in Percy Jackson. I'm talking in actual mythology. They didn't give Hades any children. They gave Persephone some. Sometimes, sometimes. Not talking about those because it's just icky. Because and the ickiness comes from the fact that sometimes it's Zeus that's Persephone's the father of Persephone's children, and Persephone is technically Zeus's daughter. So ickiness, so much ickiness. Like Zeus couldn't keep it in his pants for anything. Um, but yeah, Hades himself never had any children. Yeah, but descendants isn't part of Greek mythology. I'm talking, like I said, I'm talking Greek mythology, not Percy Jackson, not Disney, actual Greek mythology. Wolf. Yeah, Greek mythology as it got older got icky. Because the story of Persephone and Hades changed a lot. It actually was more Persephone wasn't necessarily kidnapped by Hades, but she found her way down to the underworld. And Hades didn't really tell her, yeah, you have to stay or no, you don't. He just kind of let her do. And when she was faced with the possibility of going back to Demeter, she was just like, I don't really want to go. So she ate the pomegranate seeds and she got to stay for 6 months. But again, different versions have Hades kidnapping her, having Stockholm syndrome, and most of them, if you get to it, Hades didn't make her do anything that she didn't want to do. She chose to stay in the underworld. She chose to be queen. She chose to be his wife. He didn't make her do anything. Honestly, Hades was just like, yeah, cool. I like you. Let's do this. You're great. You're wonderful. You're technically my niece, but let's just ignore that fact. You gotta ignore all of the convoluted mythological family trees if you want to get through any of these without going, ew, ew, ew. You just because Zeus, just Zeus. Very much so ickiness. God, all the ickiness. Oh, that's really cool, Ira. I like that. Ugh. I love Greek mythology. I really do. It's one of my favorite things in the world to read and to study, but God, you gotta have some suspension of disbelief there, because otherwise you're just not gonna finish it and enjoy any of it. Like, you can't question how Medusa gave birth to a Pegasus after her head was cut off. You can't question how Zeus got any female pregnant as anything other than a man, because he would show up as a swan or a gust of wind or whatever, and you were like mystically, magically pregnant with a human, like a child that was human looking child. Like, you just can't question it too much. The word of the stream ickiness. Yep, that is it. Nice. Very nice, Alicia. Very good name. All right. It is that time, my lovely little Titans. We have come to the end of the stream. Thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you all have a great night, a great week, and I will see you next time. Bye bye, everybody.